we're not talking about if we like him or not like him. Right now, the Megillah is telling us a bit about him, or a lot about him, and we learned about Achashverosh, how his thirst for power and control is what rules him. We saw how Vashti challenged that rule and was disposed of wisely by Memuchan. Memuchan found an interesting way to get rid of her. And then the last lesson, we were talking about the idea of how to choose a new queen. Right? We were saying that to choose a new queen, he brings girls from all over the empire, and in that way, he has a sort of a captive or a hostage in his house from all we said beauty equals wealthy in the olden days. Right? We're not talking about the sharecroppers. They didn't go look for the pretty girls in the meadows. Pretty girls were in the nobles' houses, the rich people, the presidents, the kings. And Mordechai, in that sense, as Esther is about to be taken, we're going to see now, is taken from a political position. Mordechai is a political player in the game. As we see him in Shar HaMelech, he is a political player. We're going to be talking about this a lot, about Mordechai himself. So, Ish Yehudi, let's go Perek Bet, verse 5. איש יהודי היה בשושן הבירה, ושמו מרדכי בן יאיר בן שימי בן קיש איש ימיני. You guys can follow with the English, okay? אשר הוגלה מירושלים עם הגולה אשר הוגלתה עם יחוניה מלך יהודה, אשר הגלה נבוכדנצר מלך בבל. So this is Mordechai. We had the first glimpse of Mordechai as a Judean, right? Not a Jew, a Judean, coming from the kingdom of Judah. He's actually from the tribe of Benjamin, of Binyamin. He's Ish Yemini, Ish Yehudi.
Judean and Jew in Hebrew both Yehudi, and Jew comes from Judean etymologically.
That's exactly.
And Jews already existed by then.
That's exactly right. So
archaeology and also.
So Jew in this sense comes from Judea, right? It's from Judea. It's from the kingdom of Judea, not Jews as we call Jews now, even though that's what we are. We're all from the kingdom of Judea. That's why we're called Jews. But again, so Ish Yehudi, that he comes, we said, a picture that was given to us that he is the son of Yair, Shimi, Kish. Okay, Kish reminds us of Shaul. It's like a hint that Mordechai comes from Shaul, from King Saul. We're going to need that in the future. We also said that his name is Mordechai. And Mordechai is not a Jewish name, not a Greek, a Persian god. The god of Morduch, and we said, so in this sense, Mordechai already, our first glimpse of Mordechai is strange. He is from Judah. They did not call their kids Mordechai in Judah. That is not a name. As opposed to Yair and Shimi and Kish, which are Jewish names that we know, Morduch is not. Mordechai is named, in other words, it is a Goyish name in that sense. We said he was taken in the galut of Yechonia, which means that he was taken in the first exile, which is the exile that Daniel and Yechezkel were taken from, the noble exile, the exile of the nobles, and that means Mordechai is in nobility. He's nobility from before. Okay, that I think this is where we got to last lesson. Correct? Everyone, good. Okay, so now we're going to go into the next verse. We're going to meet Esther. We just met Mordechai. That was the end of meeting Mordechai. And now we're going to meet Esther. Vayomenet hadasa hi Esther. How did they translate omen? Adopted, that's what it says in the verse 7. Everyone? Adopted? Anything else? Adopted.
Sorry.
Verse 7. Vayomenet hadasa. He adopted. So that you guys have adopted Hadassah, adopting Esther, right? Hadassah hi Esther, right? So again, Hadassah hi Esther. Her real name is Hadassah, but she is known as Esther. His bat dodo, the daughter of his uncle, his cousin. Not exactly clear here what it is. Ki en la av ve'em. Because she has no father or mother, and this is very important, that this little piece of knowledge, that she has no mother and daughter. And she was very, yefat toar v'tovat mar'eh. She is very pretty, right? Yefat Toar is in shapely and visibly pleasing. Ubemot avia ve'ima lekacha Mordechai lo levat. So in the same passage, and her parents' death, Mordechai took her as a daughter. Okay? So this is going to be important to us. She is not his direct daughter. She is an orphan, some way related to Mordechai in family ties, and he took her in. Chazal say he took her as a wife.
Yeah, he said took her for his own daughter.
Right, so he took her as a daughter. That's the pshat of Levat. Chazal say Levite. Their sages say Levite as a wife. I'm not going to go there right now. Okay, it's one possible reading. There's another possible reading that it's sort of mixed, in that older people sometimes would do as a chesed, as a kindness. They would bring in a younger girl and take care of her, and later possibly they would marry her. So there could be that she was in a middle stage here. That he brought her in. She's still young, right? These are young girls. All these girls are young girls. He brings her in. And in the future, possibly, there may have been a marriage plan in the future, but it's obviously going to come to naught as she's going to the palace. So there are relations that are permissible. Cousins can marry.
Right, but still a man and a woman living under the same roof for a long period of time. Wasn't it
There are problems of yichud. There are problems of yichud, which is two people together. There may have other people. There probably were many other people in the household at the time, being servants and people around. I don't think there was just the two of them, and that was it. It was just the two of them. It may have raised some problems. But I imagine we're talking about a household. And Mordechai is a noble. He's a minister in the court. We'll see that soon. And he probably not. Okay, I have to say probably not. Even though if something like this would happen nowadays, I mean, you even think, no, just think about it, right? If chas v'shalom, something happened, a horrible accident, and someone has to raise a child, you raise a child.
It's weird to go from raising to then marrying the child.
Yes, it would. In modern days, it would be, but then it was more common. Tov. Okay, this is what we know about. So what do we know about Esther? We know she has two names, Hadassah, and he is Esther. Esther. If you take a look here, I think I should. I don't know if we did it last time. If you guys look at your page. He's coming. Oh, to get back to you. Okay, great. So look at so you don't have your pages. I'll read the page. Okay, this is in Megillah, the second to last one on the first page. So it says, the verse states, and she brought up Hadassah, that is Esther. She was referred to as Hadassah, and she was referred to as Esther. The Gemara asked, what was her real name? What is it, Hadassah or Esther? So they bring three options. It is taught in a Braita, and the sages differed in their opinion to which was in fact her name and which one was a description. Rabbi Meir says Esther was his real name. So why was she called Hadassah? On account of the righteous who are called Hadassim, myrtles. Because, okay, that's one. The other is because she concealed the truth about herself. As it is stated, Esther had not made known her kindred nor her people. So this is, her real name was Hadassah, but she's called Esther because she hid. Esther, Hester is hidden. Lastir.
Not for hysterical.
Not from hysterical, no. From which may come, I don't know. But anyway, I don't know. I can't go etymologically stuff, right? But the Hester, her real name was Hadassah, and she was called Hester because she hystera, she hid her things. That's another opinion. And the third one, which is what we're going with, Rabbi Nehemiah concurs and says Hadassah was her real name. Why was she called Esther? This was her non-Hebrew name, for owing to her beauty, the nations of the world called her after Ishtar, Venus. Ishtar, the morning star. She was like, which was also one of the gods of Persia. Mm-hmm. So we have Mordechai and Esther, both coming from non-Jewish names. Mm-hmm. In other words, this is saying very strongly, Mordechai and Esther were immersed in the Persian culture. how Jewish were they? How that we're going to see. We're going to see. At the moment, we don't know anything about their religious practice. We don't know it. We know that Mordechai was a Baal Chesed, that he brought this Esther in to live with him.
We also know he was on the Sanhedrin, so he couldn't have been that sacrilegious.
It doesn't say by me that he was on the Sanhedrin. Where does it say by you that he was on the Sanhedrin?
So
I'm kidding. Yosef. Chazal said he was on the Sanhedrin. We're not going to say Mordechai was not super religious, okay? We're not. I'm just saying the portrayal of him at the moment is more involved in the Persian life than in the Jewish life. We're going to see that is not where he really is, but we're going to see he's really in both, which is a fascinating example of Nehemiah's type, right? But yeah.
So what is an adult raising a girl who's underage and eventually having relationships with her when she's older? Isn't that technically grooming? That's grooming. That's what it's called, grooming.
I just want to remind you, in the olden days, just remember.
Yes, the olden days still, but
no, I'm saying it's very different. In other words, a girl not married is the end of the world. Okay, they're the end of the world. That's like horrible. Okay, there's no one to take care of her. To get married is the greatest chesed that could possibly be, and to marry, so it's like Boaz taking Ruth. Boaz was also very old, according to the Midrash, right? He's very, very old, and he takes Ruth. It's a huge chesed, because who's she gonna marry? She's a Moabite woman. Who's she gonna marry? She was poor and a ger, right? She's not from there, and who's she gonna? And it's a huge chesed in that sense. It's a chesed. It's a chesed to look and see. So in these cases, that was the chesed. And in other cases, there are other chesedim that are done. Okay, but for a young girl with no father and mother, what are her choices in the world there?
There's no
Not clear. But again, we're not going to go this at all. Okay, we're not going to go this way at all. Now, I just mentioned this to bring in Chazal to sort of maybe explain how she was going to be his wife as opposed to she was his wife. But we're not going to go in that direction. Right now, we're going to see her as an adopted daughter. Okay, which seems to be the pshat. All right. Okay.
By the way, this is niece, right? Is it a niece or?
So it's not exactly clear because you're going to say something later. It's not exactly clear what was the relationship, but it's some kind of cousin area. Okay, doesn't seem to be so far away.
Like the daughter of his first.
So it says Bat Dodo, so it's the daughter of his uncle, which makes her his cousin.
Yeah, the cousin.
Okay, that's my good cousin.
Uncle can be his cousin.
Okay. Okay, so this story of Mordechai and Esther, these little psukim that sort of tell us who they are, comes right in the middle of the story that we're in. The story is bringing in all the girls, right? This is the greater story wherein is the king looking for a wife, a queen. All right, and they're going to bring them in, and you have to see see the picture of all these caravans of chariots coming into the city. More and more and more and more, with more and more girls, filling more and more beautiful young girls, taken from everywhere, 127 different nations. This is from India to Africa, pouring into the thing. Yeah, it's not a joke in a sense. It's much worse than Miss Universe, but they're all pouring in, and in this net that's dragging in all the people. And again, it's not clear that they were taken by force. In other words, if you are a rich man in country number 32, you have a chance. We talked about this. This is the lottery. It's a lottery ticket. Your daughter is a lottery ticket. You may become the father-in-law of the king. It's a very powerful statement. In other words, there are some people who value their daughters more and don't want them to go, and they're taken also. I don't think there was really that much of a choice, but I'm sure there were many, many people, said, wow, my girl is absolutely stunning. She has a chance. And the chance and the possibility of her being chosen is worth it. It's worth it. And they sent them. Okay? Now we're going to see here, there's an interesting psukim about that connected to this Yosef story again. In this net that's dragging them in, Esther is caught. Okay, now the term is, look, if you look here, Vayi bishamada in Pasuk Chet, ויהי בשמע דבר המלך ודתו, ובקבץ נא... excuse me?
Which Vedic?
בית ח' ויהי בשמע דבר המלך ודתו, the word of the king and his law, ובהיקבץ נערות רבות אל שושן בגלל, as they were being gathered, the young girls were gathered to the city of Shushan, the capital Shushan, ותילקח אסתר אל בית המלך. She is taken. Vatilakach, it is a passive, she's abducted almost, right? She's caught in the net. In other words, it doesn't seem like Mordechai was one of the volunteers here. He wasn't the ones who said, "Oh, look her, she's a knockout, she's amazing, she's beautiful. Take her, let's go." No. She's caught in the net. How did it happen? A neighbor saw. Over time, he saw her. Exactly, yeah. You went outside, she saw and said, guys, wow, she's really amazing. She's really pretty. And that got word of mouth, and someone else heard, and she was caught. Just as often happens in many of these kinds of cases. And she's taken. She's taken to Hegai Shomer Anashim. This Hegai guy is going to be important for us to see. Hegai is the guardian of the women. Okay, so we have a huge building, a dormitory, like your dorms here, nicer. Dorms here of many young girls. We're talking about young girls. This is many young girls. Talking about, I guess, between 11 to 14. I would probably say what we're talking about. Okay. Again, olden days, people would get married. This is a marriable age. Okay, but girls would get married at this age.
16.
No, after Bar Mitzvah.
You can, around the time. So we're talking. We said that. Hirsch. This is you're doing an anachronism. How do you say anachronism? Anachronism. You're using our ethics of today to restate the past, and it's incorrect.
Okay, but you can't blame me for feeling skeptical. Would you let your 12-year-old daughter get married right now?
I'm saying if I lived 2,000 years ago, I would.
What do you mean?
Does she have difficulty?
If they look now, people getting married at 30, what is this?
Of course, they think we're absolutely nuts.
30's too old.
No, even 20, even 5, even 16. I mean, there's
You are the product of people thousands of years ago doing exactly this, which you are disgusted by. This is history.
Many years later.
Tonight, it's what makes you.
One second. Stop. Hirsch. Let's keep this. I remind everyone. We said we're going to be dealing here with elements that are tzniut is good for them, but it's here in the Megillah, and it's important to understand the picture as you are grown. You're already men. You're not young boys that I have to hide these things from. But Hirsch, we have to relate to it as should be. Okay, with the proper koved rosh.
So they were not pedophiles back then?
No.
Come, chill down. Let's go back.
No. Okay, so we're not. Okay, so, but this is so someone has to be responsible for them. They're still not grown women. There's someone who's in charge, and there's a lot to deal with. This guy is a serious job. A guy, he is in charge of all these girls. Now the Megillah stops her and gives us a picture of what this is like. Okay? But before we go there, right before we go into the grand picture, we're still with Esther. Esther's taken into this huge grouping of girls. And somehow, she finds favor in the guy who's in charge's eyes. Look at this next pasuk. Pasuk tet. Vatitav הנערה בעיניו, ותישא חסד לפניו, ויבהל את תמרוקיה ואת בנותיה לתת לה, ואת 7 הנערות הראויות לתת לה מבית המלך, וישנע ואת נערותיה לטוב בית הנשים. Somehow, and we're going to see this is going to be a huge issue, she finds favor in this guy's eyes. Esther. He looks at her and he's like, wow.
She's the one.
I don't. That's a good statement when Asher just said she's the one. We're going to talk about that. That's possibly his understanding already. But for some reason, she tisa chesed lefanav. She has grace before him, and I think it's not a stam word, chesed lefanav. There's something about her which is very, very attractive, not in the sexual way attractive. There's something that is very becoming of her. Something
She's a head turner.
So it's
Charisma, right?
you're going to see the charisma. Yeah, it is charisma, but it's a certain kind of charisma. We're going to see as we go on. But whatever it is, he takes her and he makes sure she has the best room. She has the penthouse. She has the best girls to serve her. Every one of these girls has 7 maid servants. We're talking about a huge complex. There's thousands upon thousands of people here. Okay? Thousands upon thousands of people. And she gets and tabukea v'manotea. Tabukea is her the spices or her perfumes and her food that she's supposed to get. She gets the best, and he puts her and her maidservants into the best part of the best quarters. So one could say, he was just smitten by her, or as Asher hinted and correctly, Haggai.
He knows she's the one.
Everyone in Persia, and this is important to see, in the court of the king.
They're working their way up.
Very good. There are many.
She's the one. He's her ticket.
There you go. She's his ticket.
She's his ticket.
Exactly right, Yosef. She's his ticket. In other words, he notices her, and he says, I don't know who's going to be the one. But if I had to bet, if I had to put my money on it, I think she's the one. But I'm not just going to put my money on it. I'm going to put my time and my efforts into it. Because if she's chosen, I was her backer. No. I was right. In a sense, it's like a sponsor. Yeah. But her sponsor is the only person who has power in Beit HaNashim, in the house of the women. There are no men there, obviously, for obvious reasons. The only one is Haggai, who is a eunuch. He's in charge there.
No doubt. Who's stating that he's the...
No, of course he's a eunuch.
Of the women.
No, for sure. It is, and it's very clear.
He can't abuse them.
That's the situation. Of course, these are all girls who are going to go to the king, and of course, no man steps foot there. I'm pretty sure on the punishment of death, even though it doesn't say here. Yeah. No one could go into these quarters, but he's in charge there.
And it's going to be one of the queen.
What? One of them is going to be the queen.
So it's obvious that no one.
For sure. What?
And they'll have the possibility
of being a queen, for sure. Now we get another one of. Well, this is where we're going to be. Hopefully, most of the lesson, and probably part of the next lesson. This next statement, Pasuk Yud. Look at Pasuk Yud, guys, everyone, because this is super important. There's one thing we know Esther did in the palace. How did she act? Chazal say many things. She kept kosher. She kept Shabbos. We don't know. And I'm going to say later, it doesn't appear so. Exactly. And there's a machloket in Chazal if she did or didn't. Maybe we can just see it. How strong this machloket is.
Wow. Referring to the name Hadassah, isn't that the feminine form of the Hebrew word for myrtle?
Yeah. That's what we said. That's what Chazal said. Yeah. So if you guys look at the second page I gave you, and you see Rav, it says the second line, Rav said the advancement in the verse signals that he fed her food of Jews, i.e. kosher food. And Shmuel said, an alternative understanding, the advancement was a well-intentioned act in that he fed her pig hinds, thinking she would view it as a delicacy, although in fact they were not kosher. It was amazing. Rav and Shmuel, remember Rav and Shmuel, the same ones who one said he was a wise king and one said he was a stupid king? Mm-hmm. They were the same Amoraim who had this machloket. Here too in the story, they verged their paths. Rav says, no, he gave her kosher food. Esther kept her kosher, he kept mitzvot, kept her identity. The other one says, the worst possible thing, the other side. He gave her pig hinds. I don't know what a hind is, but he gave her pieces of pig. That's what she ate there. Did she eat it? Did she not eat it? Okay, now you could say maybe it's like Daniel, maybe she didn't eat it, possibly. But I think the pshat here is that they were eating it. And in this sense, he's saying Esther was there. Esther was part of what was happening here. She was not, in her sense, she was like the other girls there. She was doing. There's only one thing she doesn't do, and that she doesn't say where she's from.
When it says Rav, who's it referring to?
Rav, his name was Abba. That was his name. His name is Abba, but they call him Rav. Okay, they don't call him Abba. He was one of the most important Amoraim. He was a student of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. I don't know how much you guys know history here. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi in the year 200, give or take, finished the Mishnah. Year 200 CE, right? Not BC, CE. Finished writing the Mishnah. That is pretty much widely accepted as the end of the Tanaic period. Okay? There's a period of halacha where pretty much the Torah Sheba'al Peh as we know it, the oral Torah, has been put down. And the Mishnah being the ultimate and authoritative book of the Mishnah. That is the end of the Tanaic period. In the Tanaim, we know Rabbi Akiva, we know Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. I'm saying names, Hillel HaZaken, that you may have heard of in the past. Okay, these are all Tanaim. These are all from previous generations. Rabbi is the end. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, who compiled, he didn't write it, he compiled the Mishnah, he is the end of the oral Torah. After him, there's the Gemara, right? There are many other great Chachamim. Rav is like the first one. Now, he's a Talmud of Rabbi. He's a Talmud he actually learned from Rabbi. The first Amora.
Oh, the first Amora.
He's the next level. He's the next level down. He's like the first Amora.
The next generation.
Exactly. So much so that the Gemara itself says, Rav is a Tana. He straddled both realms. Him and Rabbi Chia, in a sense, were the two rabbis who sort of straddled both the sides. From then on, it's all going to be Amoraim. But Rav is one of the major Amoraim in the Gemara. So
they're considered scholars of both periods because it was intellectually a transitional period.
I'm not sure if it's intellectually a different period. It was in a sense, the authority changed. The authority up to the Mishnah was one, and afterwards it is pretty much accepted that the people who come after the Mishnah have no right to
Question.
Well, it's not to question. They definitely question to alter the rulings of the previous generation.
So
this is very general what I'm saying.
Currently in the period of the Aharonim.
Now we're at the end of the. Right, Achorei Achronim. We're the end. I don't know.
So when are we going to find a scholar who's going to be on that little teeter-totter, whatever it's called, that fence, that wall, and then we're going to
another level. That's a great question. Well, you can't tell because we're a part of our own history. It's interesting. Let's not go there. Let's come back to the beginning. It's an interesting question.
Do you know which generation we're in?
Yeah, we would say we're the Achronim, but we don't know. I mean, maybe in 100 years, someone's going to say, no, you're a completely new generation. You're the Geulim, the ones of Geula, the ones of redemption. Maybe that's what we'll be called. Who knows? But let's.
How does Rav know that it's signaling that she was giving kosher food?
Well, they're talking about this, right? How does he learn it exactly? I would have to look inside. I can't tell you right offhand. You have to see the word. He reads it in a certain way. Okay, I don't have it in front of me right now to remember. I have it only in the English. I don't have it in the Hebrew, which would help me to see it better. But it's a good question. It's definitely, Yosef, a question that needs to be asked. I'm just using what he says more than how he said it. Okay, but Shmuel says she was eating pig. Okay, at least that's what he brought her. But he ate or didn't eat, I don't know. But it seems to be Pashut, that's what she's eating. Like she is involved. She's there. She's part of the Persian thing. Again, this is Pikuach Nefesh, one could say. And I imagine you could find halachic heterim for her to eat this. But she doesn't. Now, again, verse 10, we just have to read it again. Lo igida Esther et amavet moladeta. She does not say her nation and her birthright. Ki Mordechai tziva aleh asher lo tagid. Because Mordechai told her not to say. This question is one we're going to rest with for a long time. Why not? Why not? Now, I want to tell you what's happening here. I always sort of show this as a reality show. You know what's going to happen in the next few verses, right? Each girl is going to go into the king. Now, I sort of see this as a reality show. Not that I've ever seen a whole reality show. I've seen little parts of some, but when it's time for your girl to come into the king, that nation, it's a national holiday, right? Everyone's watching the TV screens. There are no TV screens, but everyone's watching the TV screens. Yeah, here she comes. That's our girl. Woo! She's going in. In other words, it's very, but it's not a joke, because if she's chosen, it's clear to every nation that we have our girl in the palace. Who doesn't want their girl to be in the palace? Even though you don't know, you never met this girl. She's the daughter of the king of the nation. It's clear that your country, be it 22 or 34 or 80, I always throw out the names of these just because we're talking this an incomparable amount of nations that we're talking about. Okay, and the mixed and how many, and then it's amazing. Okay, that these girls are the lottery ticket not only of the family but of the nation. They are representatives of their nations. Again, not directly. No one said you are our representative, but it's clear that every girl who goes in is going to be. And there's out of this whole slew of girls, one of them sort of slips through. She's not. They don't know who she is. She doesn't tell who she is. Now, when I asked, this is why I said one of the parts of information we learned before is so important. What did they say to her? Okay, let's be realistic here. They said Esther, name, Esther. Is that your only name? Maybe Adasa, Esther, whatever, Esther, okay? Age, 11, 12, 13, 14, whatever it is, okay? Nationality, I don't know. Excuse me?
Yeah, so you go to the airport, you'd be like, wait, where are you from?
What? I don't know. Parents, I don't know. They put down the page. What are you talking about? She, after hundreds of girls have gone by, what each one tells, my nation, my parents, and proudly, I'm from here, I'm from here.
The thing is, it's different because she was not asked. She was straight away, go, next, you're through.
What, for her?
Yeah.
No, but it says, Esther Magedet. She didn't say her nationality. It came up. That's the only thing we know she does there. Okay, of all the things, the only thing we know she does there is she's not saying where she's from. So, but how does that work? What, they don't have a ring of spies? They don't know what's going on? We're going to see that inside soon, but I'm going to say, what does she say? What does she say?
I don't know, but I have a question on...
One second, just this is really important. What does she say? What should she answer? When they ask her, what do you mean? What do you mean you don't know who you... What does she say? We know what she says. She says, I'm an orphan.
Oh. No, okay.
I'm an orphan. I never met my parents. I know this guy took me in, but I don't know who my parents are. Who could prove otherwise? Who knows for sure? When parents are gone, even to this day, it becomes issues. Who's a real parent? Who's not a parent? Even to this day, these things become sketchy. Betach there in exile, when nations are ripped apart, and this guy and we don't know. That's why the previous pasuk made such an issue. She has no parents, and the death of her parents. Mordechai took her in. We don't know. I don't know why. That's what in the realistic way. This is how she can say it. And even if they say, "But we saw you grow up in Mordechai's house," she said, "I did. He adopted me. Does that mean that's who I'm from? It's true he adopted me, but I don't know where I'm from."
Wow.
And she is unique in this whole place. No one really knows. Now, that's how it plays out. But why did Mordechai say this? We're going to get back to this. Why did Mordechai say this? And I'm going to finish the picture here until she's chosen. And then we're going to go back and start learning, because I have I think 8 different opinions of why she's not. And I'm going to see this fascinating learning, and then we're going to connect
why
it.
she's chosen?
Why she didn't say.
Oh, why she didn't say. Okay.
Yeah.
Perhaps she wouldn't have become like such an established role in the court if she was known to be Jewish.
That's definitely one of the directions. I'm gonna ask you guys in a second. I'm gonna really ask you guys to start. You can start thinking about it now, because you're gonna have to come up with an answer before we see what the Mefarshim say. But let's go on now. Pasuk Yud Aleph. ובכל יום ויום מרדכי מתהלך לפני חצר בית הנשים, לדעת את שלום אסתר ומה יעשה בה. So we know that Mordechai is involved. In other words, he wants to know how she is. Okay, what's going on? And again, and that doesn't disclose her nationality because he's his adopted father. He's not his real father. That's one of the questions, right? How could you hide? We know Mordechai is a Jew. We're going to find out later. They didn't do one and one. They didn't connect the dots. Not necessarily. He was her protector. He was her protector, and he wants to know what's going on. He has the zchut of living nearby, and he is following what's happening with her. Now, it's important for him to know what's happening with her. I'm going to see how important it is to Mordechai to know a lot of things. He's going to know a lot of things that most people don't know. He's going to know about Bigtan and Teresh, a plot to kill the king. He's going to know what happened with Haman before everyone else knows. Mordechai is a very interesting character in what he knows and what he doesn't know. Okay? But right now, he doesn't say, all right, Esther, see you in forever, Be'etzem. But no, he's an involved protector. Okay? Shlom Esther u'mayaseh. Now we go into the nitty gritty of what's happening in the palace. Ubegia tor na'ara v'na'ara lavo el hamelech. Okay, this is verse 12. It is time for each girl to come to the king after she had the law, kedat, the word dat comes, I think it's 32 times in the Megillah. It's a very, very key word in the Megillah. Dat is not religion like we say now in Hebrew. Dat is the law. Okay, as the law, kedat hanashim, the law of the girls. So there was a new law proclaimed for these girls. And what's the law?
Sexually used.
12 months. They have to be 6 months in oil. More, I don't know how to translate myrtle. How do you translate it?
Myrtle is hadassah.
Myrtle
is hadassah.
Myrrh, and 6 months in besamim, perfumes,
and family cosmetics.
What do you think about that? A year before you come to the king, you have a year in getting your body ready for the meeting with the king. No girl went to the king the first night she got to the palace. No, this is just the very beginning. Cosmetic, the highest level of cosmetic advancements. A year.
It's crazy, bro.
Right. Now I'm just going to say how Chazal, listen so carefully. It says, Ki ken yemalu yemei merukehem. It's a verse. This is the time, the full time that they need to be prepared. The only other time in the Tanakh that's used is obviously in Yosef's story.
Before we proceed to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was from the previous.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I forgot about you.
Because Haggai, the guardian of the women, the pasuk came first, and then it talks about Mordecai asking Esther not to disclose her identity. So it's kind of a mixed understanding over here for me. Why? Because at first, Haggai chose Esther from somewhere. We don't know where it is.
No. What do you mean chose? He didn't choose her from. All the girls come to Haggai.
No, because it says she was taken by force, right?
Right.
So she was taken like from somewhere.
From Mordecai's house.
Maybe Mordecai's house, maybe outside the house.
Maybe she was taken on the road, right?
Yeah,
okay.
We never know where it is.
That's right.
But now Mordecai suddenly appears after that. It's kind of, I was thinking more like, was there any kind of, although it says that she was taken by force, Mordecai somehow knew that this thing is going to happen. Because after that situation, after that scenario, after that.
Oh, I hear what you're saying.
Comes and says, do not disclose.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, fair.
So
interesting.
it's a kind of like, why would somebody who has been taken away from without any authorization, and suddenly that guardian came in?
He doesn't come in. Oh no, he's not inside.
No, he's not inside, but at least he's somewhere close to
the walls.
Things. So it's a kind of. It seems more like Mordecai already knew about these things that's going to happen. Or he knew about.
So I hear what you're saying. Aisha's right. First of all, it could be he had a pretty girl at home and he realized it could be caught. And he prepped her beforehand. He had told her before she's taken, listen, Esther, we don't know if it's going to be today or in a week or if at all. But if you're taken, let me tell you one thing. Don't say where you're from. Don't say. He hammered it into it because the pasuk is going to say it again. He hammers it into her. Don't say where you're from. We're going to see why that's so important. It's the only thing he says to her. Nothing else. It's the only piece of advice she has.
So it's really quite hammering the details that Moon was telling us. the whole people that the king's chosen, he's literally chosen a nobody.
Right. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to see how that connects into everything we've learned until now. If you guys could already connect it, you already understand something that's fascinating. But we'll see it when we get there, okay? But again, just this statement, this description of the girls being dipped in this in the perfumes for a whole solid year. So the only other place that verb appeared, or that description, is when Yaakov Avinu is embalmed in Egypt, turned into a mummy, and it says, "Ki ken yemalu yemei chanutim, ki ken yemalu yemei merukehem." By us, it's "Ki ken yemalu yemei merukehem." There, it's "Ki ken yemalu yemei chanutim." These girls, in a sense, are being turned into mummies. Mummies, but in a sense, not mommies, but mummies, in that they are right. Mummies. You know what mummies are, right? Mummies are okay. There's no life after this. There's no life. They are considered as if dead. These girls, they're good as dead. Right. They're good as dead, and we're going to see why they're good as dead. Because let's say it for a second. And with this, the girl came to the king. Et kol asher tomar, is verse 12. Anything the girl says would be given to her to take from the house of the women to the king. In the evening she came, and in the morning she came back to a new house. Bet Hanashim Sheni, the second house. This is not the house of the girls. This is the house of the Elyad Shashgez Sris HaMelech Shomera Pilagshim. She has turned into a king's concubine. She went from
disqualified.
In a sense, disqualified, but not legamre. Why? Because the end of the line says, "Lo tavo od el hamelech." She will never come to the king unless ki im chafetz ba'hamelech v'nikra b'shem. I would say more like number, probably, than name. She's been called by number, just to show how degrading this is. Okay. In other words, the king every single night has one girl come. Now, come, be with the king at night, and the morning, that's it. You go back to the house. To make no mistake here, that was the end of their life. They never, ever returned home. Once the king has relations with a girl, she is forever the king's girl. Never to meet another man, never to get married, to be one of hundreds of concubines who are only called when the king wants.
So what are they doing all the time? Nothing.
Living, eating. Probably some of them are pregnant and have children. Some don't. Nothing. They do nothing. They are completely liquidated. They're completely in the king's control. What do you think that does for his ego? Right? He completely, hundreds of girls are his women, his anything, and everything. And they come, and here's the fascinating thing. Okay, this is again, Hirsch. Can you handle this? Hold on here, okay? What does it say? No, I'm serious. I'm serious. No, I'm serious.
He was a degenerate, wasn't he?
How are you going to convince the king to choose you? This is what all the girls in the first house, before they go to the king, this is the riddle. This is the riddle that they are all thinking. Can you imagine the tacharut, the competition going on in this house? Mm-hmm. You're either the queen or you're a concubine. You're a mummy. This is the options. You're either queen. It's a sum-zero game. You're either the queen or you're a mummy. That's all there is. There's no other option. You're one of thousands of girls. Can you imagine the competition, the cutthroat, and how everyone is always searching for another piece of information that will help. How was it? What did the king like? What did the king not like? What did you do? What did you not do? What did you say? What did you not say? What did you wear? What did you not wear? Everything. Every tiny piece of information could be that little piece that makes you the queen and not your friend who's coming to the next. Can you imagine the pressure
So then, if you're saying that's what was going on, then because Esther, she was chosen after like 4 years, right?
That's right.
She got to his court. So that means even the ones, because it's supposed to be like a 7-year thing, even the ones.
Why 7 years? What's 7 years?
I think I read it.
We don't know how long it's going to be.
7 or 10. However long it was.
But you're right. Esther's chosen, just so you know, Esther's chosen the 7th year of his realm, which is, Vashti was killed in 3.5 to his realm. So we're talking about 3 years. 3 years this whole procession is happening.
Right. And
hundreds of girls before Esther.
so that basically saying that even the women who didn't sleep with the king, since they had some knowledge of what was going on, they probably weren't sent back either.
Right. Hold on to that thought, okay? Hold on to that thought. Right? The people who were there and after Esther's chosen, the ones who are still there, the king's not sending them home.
Isn't there also a reason why they were sent to a debate Hanashim Sheni, that they don't speak out in front of the other women?
I don't know. I'm not sure if there was no connection between the two. I'm not sure, but it's like you go in here and you go out to there.
Yeah.
You came in from this side, it's because two separate places. There's before and there's after. I have to be very clear that we're not going to double someone up, right? You had your chance one night, you get one chance and you go. Now it says there, anything she asked for, she came. And you have to just, don't. But your imagining can go on wild here. Your imagination, every girl has to think of, has to be creative. The pressure to be something unique, special, different. How am I different than 400 girls who were before me? What can you do that it gets more and more bizarre and grotesque and risque and bananas? It gets worse and worse and worse. And the king is meeting these girls. And in one sense, I'm sure he's enjoying himself on the flesh level of enjoyment. And the other, he sees girls degrading themselves more and more and more. And he uses them because he's the king and he can do whatever he wants. So how does that affect the soul? The soul.
Yeah,
What is that? How does that affect the soul?
So even himself must be feeling like he's getting.
He feels empty. He must feel empty.
He's digging deeper into lower levels.
In a sense, he is.
Feels empty.
But again, there's a growing emptiness here of another person who's just coming to please him because she wants to be the queen, just coming because she. How much can you suffer for that? How much can you do? And he can do a lot. He has a lot. He's apparently a lot.
It's big. It's big.
It's mizuyaf. But the king's enjoying himself. And enjoyment of the flesh, it's enjoyable. You're enjoying it. We're gonna see how Esther. We're gonna see how Esther.
Instant self-gratification.
So now again, Esther's there. What's her card? What's her card? She's pretty. We know she's pretty. She's not, again, Chazal say she's green because they just want to show how much it was a miracle. In other words, they're going to say she wasn't pretty to say that it wasn't that which would save her, but in a sense, they're going to give us a deeper level of understanding why Esther is chosen. But right now, she's one of thousands of pretty girls. Was she that much prettier than anyone else? Maybe, maybe not. How can we tell? How do we know?
Beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder.
Exactly. Also, right? What is he looking for? What's he not looking for? How do you know? How do you know after hundreds of girls? What? Yes.
Well, there comes a point
Her eyes, her ears, her what? What are you gonna say? You know why Esther is different?
She's a mystery.
Because she's a mystery. Now there are two levels to the mystery. She's a mystery in that no one knows where she's from. She's a mystery girl in that sense. There's something different about it, but there's something more important that's different about her. Listen to the next line. The next line goes like this. Okay, it's Esther's turn to come. We're in Pasuka Tetvav. Ubegia Tor Esther, bat Avichail, dod Mordechai, asher lakach lo levat. This is Esther, the daughter of Mordechai. It is important for them to say she is a student of Mordechai. Now it says her father's name here, Avichail. We didn't say beforehand, which is fascinating. But I think it's come to give. This is like a majestic pasuk. It's a majestic verse. Ubeyagia Tor Esther bat Avichail dod Mordechai asher lakach lo levat. Right. This is a pasuk that has a regal. When Esther is coming, but asher lakach lo levat. She may have been born to Avichail, but she's Mordechai's daughter. She learned that his needs. And what did she learn? Lo biksha davar. She didn't ask for anything. Except, ki im asher yomar Hegai sris hamelech shomer anashim. And now the next part of the pasuk is necessary. Vatehi Esther noset chen be'enei kol ro'eha. Esther found favor in all who saw her.
No competition.
Let me talk to you guys a bit about finding favor. Matzachen. Matzachen is a unique term. Torah Aleph and Likutei Moharan. Matzachen. But what's going on here? The matzachen comes from what she did before. Esther says, Haggai, whatever you say, you're the man. You know. I trust you. Do you know what empowers people, Be'emet? What really when someone feels, to cause someone to feel powerful, is to let him feel that you think he is important. You think he's special. You think he's competent. There's no greater gift. There's no way to make someone like you more than to say, I trust you. No way, nothing at all you can do. You can give him presents. You can help him out. The deepest way of finding favor in someone else is to believe in him. And that's why these psukim are connected. Esther says to Haggai, I don't want anything. I trust you completely, Haggai. Haggai, this is the first time someone said this to him. He's bringing hundreds of girls. Each one says, give me this, bring me this, do this. Okay, whatever you want, I'll bring you, whatever you want. But Esther says, no. You're the man, Haggai. You know better than anyone. Who he also does, because he's the only one who knows what every other girl came with. Remember, she's also smart. This isn't only that, but the depth of what she's doing is saying, Haggai, you are the one.
You're the man.
You're the man. You know.
You're the unit.
You're the one. And then she matz'achen be'enei kol ro'eh. This is what Esther radiates from her. Listen to you guys, this is really important. Esther radiates from her that cause anyone to be around her to feel, wow, I feel special. She makes me feel special. She makes me feel powerful. She makes me feel, not by saying she's nothing. She doesn't say that. She's beautiful. By saying, I respect you and I think you're special. Now I'm going to say for a minute, and this comes to a deep level also in the connection through sexuality, that the meeting between man and woman, we talked about in the past, has a power element to it. The love comes from when one side gives themselves to the other side. Not as a victim, but as a gift. When a husband and a wife get together and they say, we love each other so much, I am giving you myself. I'm not taking, I'm giving you myself. Each side gives each other, and that is full love. What happens in these cases, which is in a sense rape, it's mandated by the state, rape, it is a violent clash that's happening here. Mm-hmm. Every night, it's a violent clash of a girl attempting to make sure she's the one, and the king subduing whoever to do whatever I want. And understanding. He understands that she is nothing. He understands that she is, in a sense, completely giving herself up to him. And in the end, it leads to hatred. That end leads to not real connection. And that's why often, and we see in the Tanakh, in the story of Amnon and Tamar, David's children, that it says Amnon rapes Tamar. And then the pasuk is fascinating afterwards. It says he hated her more than he loved her. The next pasuk, after he had his way with her,
He doesn't have a
he hates her more than he loved her. It's a fascinating statement in what exactly is happening here. And it is you see the complete bestiality in what happened here. I took the act which is the most beautiful act in the world, the giving of self to one another, the voluntary giving of one's soul and body to another. He turned it into the most vicious and disgusting act. He hates her, he hates himself, he hates anything that it's worse than empty. It's hatred. It's a hatred that happens here. In to having the beauty of the sexual act, the kedusha, as we say in Yahadut, it's the most holy thing in the world. To turn it into a power taking as opposed to giving, it's the worst thing in the world.
So isn't essentially a 30-year-old man is abusing his power to sexually exploit a 16-year-old girl?
What are you saying?
What are you saying?
That's what's happening every night.
Oh, even younger than that, probably.
Every night. Hirsch, break out of the mold here. This is what we've been dealing with, okay? No, but we're going to say how Esther is different.
We lost you somewhere along the way.
Esther is, I think he lost us. I'm not sure we lost him. But now are you with me? Because Esther, Hirsch, listen to this, because Esther is different. Esther, first of all, she doesn't want to be there. She didn't sign up for this. Tilakach. And then it says it again. So now look, the next line. Vatilakach Esther el HaMelech. She was tilakacht from Beit Mordechai, and again she's tilakacht to the king. She's the only one.
Which is, it's in complete contrast to, of course, giving. Yiten, and recently we read Parashat Yitro. I thought Yitro, Yiten et Tzipora Beito.
Yafeh.
And we look back, and you see the idea of giving your daughter. We see it happening in, I think the first time we see it is in the story of Lot, where he offers his two daughters to protect
the guest, right? And himself.
Of course, an eye for an eye, because ultimately he himself is right. And then we see it happening in the story of the servant of Abraham who was sent
to get Rivka
for Yitzchak. It speaks to Bethuel, and there it becomes very clear where he says, the servant says, like, it's a miracle that happened. That's basically what he's saying. It's a miracle. All these events that happened,
right?
I knew that, I was told they would happen, and they happened. Will you give me your daughter to take back? Or are you telling me to continue on my way? To continue to the right or to the left? That's what it says.
Right. Oh, yeah,
which is really interesting, because why do you say this redundant thing, to the right or to the left? And we see that to the right or to the left itself is constantly recurring wherever God is saying, take care to follow my mitzvot.
Interesting. Right. I never thought of that.
Right or left.
Small.
So there's something here of giving and taking, the contrast.
Yafeh, מעניין, יפה מאוד. I never thought of that ימין או שמאל. It says a bunch of times. And he also says to Lot, ותפנה על ימין ועל שמאל, right? Very interesting. I never connected the two. Wow, יפה מאוד. Okay, יפה. But here Esther is taken. She is taken to the king. She this is not her. And she gives herself to the king. She's not taken. She's taken, and in that she's given to the king. Okay, I'll say it better. In the fact that she isn't part of the game, she finds favor. She isn't one of these girls. She's there and she says, King, I'm here. I'm in my own right. I don't need this. I'm here, but I'm here for you. And look at the term that's said right after this. Okay, he comes to the Chodesh Asiri Chodesh Tevet Bishnat Sheva LeMalchuto. That's the end of verse 16. And then it says, the only time he's going to say this in the Megillah, Vayehav HaMelech et Esther Mikol HaNashim. What's the term used?
Ahava.
Oh. That is not a term that's been used for these past hundreds of days. It is not. No, it's a super.
No ahava in these
There's
interactions.
no ahava in these
Pure
interactions.
degeneracy,
Exactly.
immorality.
It's pure power and degeneracy. It's
Lewdness.
There's no one can do that.
Vayehav. Whoa, we like just
He's a
shot
holy
up
man.
15 levels up.
Wow.
He loves her. You know, the Vayehav is not a common term anywhere in the Tanakh. You know the first time it says?
He's a pussy.
Yitzchak and Rivka. Yitzchak and Rivka is the first time that says someone loved
Huh?
someone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in that sense.
Rivka comes right
Rivka,
after the
yeah, but-
introduction of the term.
16.
Kever. It's also
Interesting.
very of
17.
Sarah. Kever. And then we see the next
17.
section. We see the introduction of Rivka.
Of Rivka coming in.
Yes.
So, but it says there Vayehavea, and he brings her to her tent. That term is a high term. Ahava. Ahava. Wow. It's not even fitting in the Megillah. It's like, what? Whoa. What are you getting mushy on us here suddenly? What's going on? He didn't love Vashti. He didn't love these girls, but he loves Esther. It's a whole new realm for the king to meet a girl. First of all, she has no nation. Who is she? Like you said, like the mystery girl. What is she? She's not searching for what's going on here.
Wow.
But she's different. She's not. She doesn't want to be here. She doesn't have to be here. She voluntarily says to the king, "I'm here for you."
Wow.
She, like Haggai, like she said to Haggai, "You're the man." She says to Achashverosh, "You're the man. You're the man, Achashverosh. I don't need you in that sense. I don't need everything around here. I'm coming to you." So different than anything he's met here. It's over at that point. Okay, now this was one level of what we're talking about. I'm going to have to stop soon. But, okay, let's continue the pasuk and we're going to stop. Pasuk Yud Zayin. Vayahav HaMelech et Esther mikol hanashim v'tisachen v'chesed lefanav. Again, the chen and the chesed, that's the chen. Okay? What is tisachen v'chesed? Chen is that feeling that you are important, that the other person imparts in you that I am important. That's chen. Mikol betulot vayisem keter malchut berasha vayimnichea tachat Vashti. She's the queen.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
It says here in the art scroll footnote, the Talmud explains that Esther was taken by Achashverosh against her will and was never an active participant in their marital relations.
That's coming the halacha. I guess in the halachic way of was she allowed to be with a goy, and so in this sense she was not. It was all in constant rape in that sense, and therefore she was patur. That's why she says kasher avadati. Then she says this time I'm going in my own free will. But that's what the article is alluding to there. Okay. Guys, let's stop here for a minute. Fascinating. We've gotten into Esther. We have like 2 minutes, but I'm going to quickly roll this before, so we won't have to deal with this on Tuesday. We'll go right into the Parshanim. What's the story about not telling who she's from? What's the story of that? Was the only thing Mordechai says is to say, don't say. And I want to bring two. Well, what do you guys say first before I say? Let's go. Go ahead.
Maybe besides the actual beauty and the relations they were having that was supposed to make that a deciding factor, I think as someone mentioned earlier, the mystery. Because if you look at the first thing we are heard of Achashverosh, it's where the cities and the countries and the nation that he rules over. That's a very important thing we see. Over here, where are you from? Where's your passport? Where's your nationality? I think that's a very big deciding factor.
So Mordechai says to her, don't say it. Why?
The factor of why she was picked.
Why she was picked? Because she's different.
She's different. She
She's
stands
different.
out.
She stands out.
One
second. So you're saying Mordechai wanted her to be chosen?
I don't know, that's a good
No. You hear what I'm asking?
That's a good
Nisim just said he gave her like a hint of how to be chosen, but then you're saying so.
He wanted her to go.
He wanted her to be chosen. He said he's giving her a hint how to be chosen. He wanted her to be the
I
cool.
didn't think of that.
Okay. Oh, it's a really important question to ask here.
That's a good caveat.
I think he did want her to be chosen.
I think he did want her to be
For
chosen.
a few reasons.
I'll be alright.
I'll make the first one quick. The first one is that Mordechai's entire purpose was really getting closer to gaining power to situate Jewish people in a good place. For one thing, Esther being queen would definitely serve that. The other thing is that he's telling her not to be Jewish. Like, if we're talking about how he's degrading himself all this time, then defining someone of religious can only put into their mind that they've now reached an even lower low if they could ever reach another one. So telling her not to, trying to say to her, what's it called? Don't tell them you're Jewish is basically trying to give her help on forget what you know and try and do your best where you are.
Great. So Yosef is saying a very interesting idea. Now, Mordechai says, listen, you're now in the depths of Persia. You are in the palace. Up until now, we've sort of lived our dual lives as Jews and Persians. We have Persian names, but we're living in, we're Persian culture, even though we're Jews. Now, Esther, you have to take another step into the lion's den, in that sense, into the Persian culture. If you want to live in this place, I'm saying you right here, Yosef?
Yeah.
If you want to live in this place, you're going to have to be Persian. You have to be Persian, and that means don't say you're Jewish, don't act Jewish, don't use Jewish clothes or Jewish words.
It's about Achashverosh, it's like don't make him feel worse.
What do you mean don't make him feel worse?
Because her being Jewish only makes it worse. Like if he's defiling any randomer, it's defilement, but everyone does it. But if you're defiling someone who has faith, who is a person of God, it's a defilement of spirituality as well.
They're saying there's something even worse about taking someone who's religious and sees this as a complete defilement. I'm sure there are other religious people there too. But
Did you ever find out she's Jewish?
1 second, well, of course.
Did you find out later?
Right, 1 second. It's much later.
And
Anyone else? Any other ideas? Go, Asher.
I have 2 points on this one. The first is
it's in Park Zion.
I just want to start with what Nissim has already started.
Guys, listen.
I don't understand that, as I point out at the first place, Haggai and Mordechai, it's something tricky about the verse continuation and the follow-up.
Okay, good.
There's some mystery because we have been reading Ezra and Nehemiah, and that mystery is always there when we start reading Megillat Esther. So what I see here is, yes, Mordechai being a part of that administration, a part of that government of Persian Empire, knows how this thing goes out, and may have heard what's happening in and around to a certain level. At the same time, she is smart because she knows how to give importance to someone and extract information from them. Or maybe we never know what his real character is or what kind of a lady she is. Maybe she's a very smart, intelligent lady. So maybe the point that she was not disclosing her identity, one thing we can find out that Mordechai knew that if you hide this thing, it will help you in certain level. And
in other words, what like meet certain people, know, gather information. You're saying
because
sort of like a spy.
Yeah, because for example, if a person, as we know, that the king met a lot of his women, and they come from different nations, different kingdoms, and they represent the kingdoms, and they come with that feeling that I'm gonna be queen. So what happened? A king who has that kind of to have the power of ruling people. If the moment you knew that you represent this and that, you come with that attitude that, okay, you want to be the queen, I want to represent this, I want to represent the queen. So what happened, without anonymous or like without any information, makes you feel more like, oh, she doesn't want anything. Oh, she doesn't want fame. She doesn't want any representation of anything. So that means she's fit for my queen because it's going to represent me. That kind of feeling comes in.
First of all, I want to stop. This is the point. What Asher just said now is the way I read it. Okay? That's the chidush of that Mevchinati.
Right
Did you hear what Asher said? Do you understand? And I'm just going to continue. We're going to see next week other shitos, but just stopping there. It's like it doesn't mean it's the right answer as opposed to whatever else, but it's definitely the answer I wanted to say. I'm going to just say it again. and I'm just going to tie it in more powerfully. The king is traumatized by Vashti. Remember how we explained what happened with Vashti? She was power against power. Now I'm going to go with this. The king's looking for a queen. Everyone in the whole empire is scratching their heads. What is, including the girls and everyone else, what is he going to choose? Mordechai cracked the code. He cracked the code. And he says, the less power, the better. The less presenting with all whatever, the better. The less everything, the better. This, he says to her, this is the key. This is the key. In other words, when he told her, he gave her one piece of advice. He said, the less, what does power mean? Where did power come from? The people behind me. The power, no man has individual power, really. You could be the strongest man in the world. You could beat up a couple people. One person with a gun will finish you up. The more power means representatives, who you represent. She is nothing. She's an orphan from nowhere with nothing, with nobody. Mordechai says, this is your ticket. I don't know if it will work. He doesn't know if it's going to work. Maybe someone else is super pretty and she'll be chosen. But he says, listen, we're in this game already. We don't know. And I'm going to add something. This is already part of the next lesson. But Mordechai, I can't leave you guys off with this. But Mordechai didn't want her to be chosen. Okay, let's just say he didn't want her. But once she's taken, it's a sum zero game, remember? She's lost. She's never coming back home. It's not a question. The only question is, are you going to be in the harem or you're going to be queen? What's better?
Queen.
This is what Mordechai says. Mordechai, he didn't want, he's not a Jew, he's not selling his daughter, he's not selling Esther. But she's been taken. She's been forced.
Open the right doors.
But now that you're there, or I'll say it in a religious statement, now that Hashem has brought us to this situation, what's the best thing to do now? What is our best chance? You, for yourself, and for the people you really represent, it's to get as high as you can go. To be the queen. Who knows where that will come bring us? And what is the key to being a queen? Powerlessness. No power. No power. As the less power, the better. The less power, the better. The less, and he says, so just say nothing. And now you have to think. Every time, now I'm going to bring the picture back. Every time the next girl comes in, at the gates of the palace are this huge group going, holding up flags of her nation, going, yay! Woo! Paint their face with the flag, right? We are, yeah, go, woohoo! We're going, this is our chance. Go, queen, go. Go, country 38, let's go. Every single, right? That's what happened. Now, really, that's what's happening. And the king knows this. So every single girl who comes in doesn't come in by herself. Into his bedroom comes a whole nation.
Wow.
It's not just her. She comes, some draped with the flag, or they come in, and he reads, this is X from X, father is X, these are these people, these are the people who are coming in, everyone. Yeah. And every one of them, ding, Vashti, ding, it rings his bell. He goes, oh, another
Vashti.
And suddenly, a girl comes who's not looking for herself or anything. She's not even so interested. What in the world is this? This is the perfect wife. She's the exact opposite of Vashti. You could not find anyone more opposite than Vashti. Now, maybe if she was ugly, it would be the complete opposite. But ish gvul, right? There's a gvul. How far Achashverosh is willing to go. That he's not willing to do. But in every other term, she's the complete. Vashti was the queen of Bavel. Esther is the nothing of nobody. Vashti says, no, I have power. Esther says, anything you want, the king. It's all you. You're the story.
Wow.
Chooses Esther. This is Mordechai's genius in understanding the king. That's why we needed Perek Aleph. That's why we needed the first chapter, because Mordechai is the first one to really maneuver the king. He had Esther chosen because he understands how the king works. He understands his greatest fears and his greatest hopes. And this is how Esther is brought to be the queen.
Actually, I had the
That's
addition
crazy,
of
Rabbi.
what Yoshi was saying. What I was thinking was, I was expecting you to say it, but well, we missed out that part. The reason why she did not disclose her identity, one reason. Another second part was, we remember from the first chapter that they had a party, the Vasti scenarios, the scene. What we know is they were using the vessels and the utensils of the temple. First thing. Second, they were using the attire of the Kohen
Kohen
Gadol. So it's obvious if you disclose her, I'm a Jew. Oh, okay. Let's make fun of her again.
Okay.
So that could have.
Just hold on. We're going to see that in the things here. I think that's not what was happening.
No,
okay?
that was not about.
No, I don't think it's. We're going to see here next. We because Asher hit the jackpot here, and he said the thing. I went there. I would have preferred to hold back on this until we saw all the different opinions and then say this. But now we're going to see how all the commentaries ask this question. Yes.
Wasn't there like a really strong point of not being subservient to the king, not accepting this is your fate?
Well, so it's Vashti
Yeah.
that we praised. Oh, for sure. But there's going to be a place where you're subservient. There's going to be a place where you're going to stop it. We're going to see next chapter when Mordechai is going to decide not to bow to Haman. That's when we're going to have to ask why. Then suddenly he's going to tell them he's Jewish.
Right, but he's
What
just
is-
told Esther to do the exact
Exactly. It even makes it even harder. Correct? Makes it even harder. You're right. That's why the question next chapter, the question of the whole Megillat Esther, is how in the world and why in the world doesn't Mordechai bow down to Haman? Why in the world are we taking this absolute bananas risk after exactly what Yossi is saying? The whole key was to call myself Mordechai and Esther and nothing, no nation, to try to be part of everyone. Suddenly Mordechai is going to
Low-key.
go from low key to crazy.
High key.
High key.
To much higher than high key, to absolutely bananas, to suicidal almost.
But he doesn't
In a second.
do it at one point. He literally does it at one point, doesn't do it at another point, does it at one point again.
We're
He
gonna.
doesn't go to the king's festival, but he tells he sends Esther his way, and then he doesn't bow down to Haman.
So we're gonna have to. I mean, you're right. It's a very fascinating question. So let's stop this
Isn't that the
here.
holiest book?